Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back from the ad break. You are still watching Prime Life. Now, joining me on Zoom is Zaheera Bham Ismail, and we will be talking about premarital counseling and a program called Train the Trainer. And the Train the Trainer program is aimed at equipping people with the skills and knowledge to effectively guide couples before they embark on their marriage journey. This is going to be a very interesting conversation, so I'm looking forward to it. Assalamu alaikum, Zahira, and thank you so much for joining us on Prime Live.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and thank you so much for having me on your platform.
Jazakallah so much. So please tell us about how the idea of Train the Trainer program came about and what inspired you to focus on premarital counseling.
So I think over the years, the names that you're seeing on the poster, Mr. Idris Kamisa, Mufti Minty, myself, a number of other people in the community have been involved in work, whether it's in Sisters of Light, our safe haven for gender abused victims, whether it's in divorce cases, in marital cases, in counseling cases. And although there are so many more resources available, we've seen the need increasing quite tremendously in terms of the amount of work that is still required. And we realize the amount of resources that we have available are very limited, especially in outlying areas and in different towns and in different regions. And not everyone can always make it to Johannesburg to be able to get the help that they need. So what we came up with was a Train the Trainer program. This allows us to facilitate training of individuals who work within the community at any level, and for them to be able to go out and to then offer these services that are so sorely needed within our communities. The need is huge, and if you look at it, a lot of the problems that we do see are not things that can't be fixed or can't be solved. We just need to have the right people there to help facilitate these conversations and these kind of meetings, inshallah.
Thank you so much for explaining that to us. Now, can you elaborate on, because you did mention that you pick certain community leaders, maybe tell us more about, who can actually join the program?
So just about anyone. I think that's been quite a big question where a lot of people have asked us, do I need to come in with previous counseling skills? Do I need to have any other skills attending this course? And the answer is actually no, because all the skills required will be taught to you during the course. If you just have a passion for community work, have a passion for being able to listen to others, to understand others, and to want to help to make a difference within our communities, then this is a course for you. Because without a doubt, we keep saying that, we can't throw away marriages or families and relationships without at least trying to fix it first, because this is the cornerstone of our foundation as an ummah. Because once we start breaking that, we really don't have much left. So we want to work together as much as possible to be able to try and hold this together. So these skills, whether it's counseling skills, listening skills, talking through communication, helping to identify difficulties, how to work through them, this will all be taught to you during these classes. So no, absolutely no prerequisites or any skills required before that. Everything will be taught to you during the sessions.
I mean, this is such a great program that you're offering. Jazakallah so much for, explaining to us on who can join the program. And I'm sure a lot of viewers are interested. And in terms of the costs, are there any costs that are, affiliated with the program? And also, how long does it take?
So there is a cost involved with it. We obviously have to pay the people who are part of it and putting together this program. So the cost involved is 1,500 Rand per person. But I do want to note that if in any communities whatsoever, anyone is unable to afford it, to please get in touch with me. We will make a plan, because the point is not to actually make this as a business. The point is for these services to be freely available throughout the Muslim community, throughout South Africa. So if there's anyone that is watching that wants to attend, is unable to attend any communities that require these services, please reach out to me. I will do my best to make a plan for you to be able to be there. And the course runs over 3 days. It's next week, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. And it covers everything from counseling skills, dealing with blended families, different types of personalities, communication difficulties, premarital counseling, marriage issues that we find, the practical sessions as well on different types of scenarios that we're getting. There's also the fiqh of marriage and divorce that is being managed during these courses. So you'll be able to leave there with a very good understanding of how to manage premarital counseling.
Mm. And let's talk about, the key skills and topics that you cover in the Train the Trainer program and what you believe are essential for effective premarital counseling.
So, as I mentioned, one of the biggest things is communication. We often talk, we prep so much for people getting into weddings, but so little is put into talking to them about their different types of personalities. How do they communicate with each other? If one person is angry, how do you identify what is needed from you at that time? When you're angry, what is needed from the other person? So, a lot of basic communication skills. How to identify toxic behaviors that are actually going to be detrimental to your marriage. How are things that are red flags? Because very often we go into this blinded because we just want to have the idea of this wedding and very little thought process into the marriage itself. Finances are discussed. Communication is discussed. I just want to show you here, manuals are prepared as well that will be given out to each of our participants. And in that covers everything that you will have available to you on also talking about various aspects of premarital counseling, common issues within the marriage, real life examples as well, communication, nonverbal communication, conflict management, conflict resolutions, different ways. And for me, it's not just about premarital counseling. These are skills that you'll be able to utilize within your own marriages as well, and also for people who've been married for a long time who are picking up difficulties within their marriages. Very often they will come to the mosque or they will come to a support network within their communities looking for this help. And if we're able to put these resources in place, it makes a huge difference. And from the fiqh aspect with Mufti Minty, we are also focusing, as I mentioned, on the fiqh of marriage and divorce and talking about the 3 types of civil marriages in the context of Sharia law. And I think it's important to have this as a counselor, because very often there's a lot of confusion in terms of what South African law offers, what Islamic law offers, and here we'll be able to give you a good enough understanding, basic understanding, so that you're able to adequately utilize what's available to us, but also be able to call on the right people when extra help is also needed.
And what do you think a lot of people, because as much as we hear of premarital counseling and it's very accessible, but why do you think a lot of people don't do it before getting married?
I think it's not something that's been part of a norm within any of our Muslim communities. It's always been a focus on let's get the wedding done, let's get afterwards, and we rely on extended family to be there. And if you think about it, in previous years, in previous generations, extended families and communities used to really be involved in keeping marriages together. That's fallen away with all of us not having as close ties with people, not wanting other people to know what's happening, having more nuclear families rather than extended families. And Shura is definitely part of our religion and looking to other people, getting the help that we need, asking for help. But I think people have forgotten that, number one, even in general marriages, people are afraid to ask for help. They're afraid to know other people to know what's going on in their lives because we're all living with these filters that we think everyone just needs to see the image of the perfect marriages. And there is no such thing as a perfect marriage. There are so many marriages that are plagued with difficulties and with problems. And you need to be able to reach out to get the help. The other reason I think is people haven't known where to go to be able to get this assistance. We look at other religions within our community where this is almost a prerequisite before the marriage. And I think it's something that we should be making mandatory, that before your nikah is done, have you actually sat down with someone who can offer you some form of premarital counseling, so that we know that when these young couples or any couples are going into marriages, they're equipped with necessary skills to be able to make it work, inshallah. So I think it's been access to it, limited amount of services available, not knowing what to expect, not knowing what's available, not knowing how to access these services, and also not understanding the benefits of premarital counseling in terms of how much it'll impact your marriages.
And just speaking on the benefits, can you maybe help us highlight, some of the benefits that, are there for, when you do take on premarital counseling?
So I think those are huge. When we walk into marriages, All of us always think it's going to be amazing, alhamdulillah. But we know in any relationships, whether it's marriages, relationships with families, with friends, it's always a little bit tough and certain obstacles come in the way. And it's about how do we navigate that? Because the minute you hit a brick wall, you can't just walk away and go, well, I'm done with it and I don't need to be here. I'm leaving and I'm going back. And I really think a lot of people in our generation are to blame for that, where we just say, oh, just come back and we don't need to fix anything. If it's not abuse and it's not drug addiction and it's not things that are detrimental to you, everything else can be fixed and we can really work at it. And I think the benefits of it are learning how to communicate, learning to identify when to ask for help, learning to identify that certain things you can manage on your own. And in addition to saying, I'm getting married and I've chosen my outfits and all of that, I've also learned skills on how to deal with another person. I'm living with another person. I'm going to be in another home with another human being, with another family. Right now, we all scream about rights, 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 but yes, we also have to talk about our duties, our obligations. How do we make ourselves a part of families that we are going to be getting married into? And this goes for boys and for girls. And I think getting those skills allows us. It doesn't make it perfect. It doesn't make it 100% problem-free, but it at least helps to facilitate and ease into a new part of your life and a new journey. And the same way that we want to prepare for any trip that we're taking, how adequately prepared are we for the journey of marriage? So in the same way, when you're going on holiday, you get your visas, make sure passports are sorted, all your paperwork's in order, packing the bags. So have we done the same things for our marriages? Have we gone to speak to someone? Have we figured out how we communicate, what this person requires, what I require? Have we discussed finances? Have we discussed family relationships? Have we discussed where we're going to be staying? All of these things are important, and a lot of people are sensitive about having those discussions. And if you're in this space, a safe space with a good facilitator, they can ease these conversations easily so that it makes it easier once you go into the marriage. And again, I reiterate, by no means does it mean it's going to solve 100% of the problems, but it also makes you aware through the marriage that you have a safe space so that if there is a difficulty and a problem, you know you can call on one of these facilitators who's been there for you to be able to say, we're stuck at the moment, we're not sure which way to go, how do we navigate this? Because marriage isn't just smooth sailing continuously. It constantly comes with different challenges, and this is about navigating your way easily through these challenges, inshallah.
Inshallah. But then, Zaira, where do people draw the line? Like when, because I know a lot of times people say, you know what, there's counseling and you guys need to go through counseling. We're trying to fix the marriages and all of that. But as obviously someone that's in the field, where do people draw the line to say this is not working?
So I think that becomes a very individual conversation, and it's very difficult to do a blanket generalization on that. I think if two people are willing to make a marriage work, everything can be fixed. If either one of the parties doesn't want to be there, for any particular reason, it's very difficult to try and make it work. So I think you have to go back to why did we get married? Have we looked at our niyyah again? Do we have an understanding of why we both want to be here to make this work? And if you have both parties involved, it's very easy to then bring in everyone else to the same thing to make sure it's supported and put together. I think that line is, like I mentioned, abuse, addiction, and that's a completely different conversation that we can have at a different time. But in terms of other things, there are other times in marriages where people just generally don't want to be there. But when we get married, we have to be conscious of the sacredness, of the sanctity of marriage and what we're trying to do. So I always say, and I was just saying to some young girls here today as well, is that, don't look for the butterflies in the stomach before you get married. That you need to see a doctor for. You want to know that the verses in the Quran speak about it being a place of peace, a place of being a sense of home for you. And if you've got that and you do want the marriage to work, then everything else can be facilitated from that. And I think it's so important that we try and hold on to that, because the family units form a microcosm of what our communities stand for at large.
Jazakallah so much for sharing that with us. And I know we are talking about premarital counseling, but please highlight or share with us the importance of also, including constant counseling even during the marriage. It's not just about premarital, but also during the marriage itself.
Absolutely. I think we've touched on that a bit as well already, but I think it's so important to understand that getting the premarital counseling gives you certain tools you need to be able to facilitate your journey with a little bit more ease than you would have otherwise managed. And then being in the marriage, it is overwhelming. There are many, many challenges that come the way, whether it's with parenting, whether it's just with familial relationships, whether it's with friends, these days, even with social media. And I think it's also understanding and knowing, and that comes with maturity of understanding, when am I able to ask for help? When do we as a couple need help? Because if you constantly bickering and you're constantly fighting, it's not a place of peace. And if you are sitting there in your marriage and saying, I don't actually want to go home, let me spend as much time as possible at work, let me spend time with my friends, let me spend time out of the home, then we have a problem, and that's when you need to ask for help. And there is nothing wrong with asking for help. It's a sunnah to be able to ask our elders around us, to be able to make shura around us, to be able to get information around us. And I keep reiterating that if we are witnessing a nikah, it's incumbent upon all of us to be able to take some responsibility to make sure that that marriage works. So if you are elders in the community, if you're elders within that family, give advice as though it would be for your own children. Try and keep it together, to hold it together, so that when these youngsters or any couple being married needs advice, needs help, needs support, and they reach out, give sincere advice, keep it confidential, but try and do the best that you can to help them through that difficult time. Because at different phases in your marriage, and it's like different years that you go through these challenges, and if you don't end up pushing through that, it's very easy to just break it apart and to walk away, and years later to wonder, what if we had stayed? And I think those are the times when you need people around you to talk you through it. And if it can be worked, alhamdulillah. And if it can't be worked, then that's also alhamdulillah. But I think the one word that you have to get used to, actually two words, is compromise and respect. And if you've got those two, everything else flows from there.
Jazakallah so much for sharing that with us. And just before I let you go, please tell us and the viewers at home watching right now, when does the Train the Trainer program actually start? How often are the classes? And is there any specific application process?
So it's just a 3-day program. It starts next week, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So that's the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of June. It'll be from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. here in the Wendywood area at Petrochem offices. And all you need to do, if you would like to register, is to email or to WhatsApp me directly. My number is 073-500-4036, or you can email me, zahira@innovate.co.za. You just need to let me know name, surname, the area you're in, contact number, and an email address. Banking details will be sent to you. If you are able to pay for it, please do so to secure your placement. If you aren't and you need assistance, drop me a message and let's see what we can do to help you.
Jazakallah so much, Zaheera, for just sharing, with us the importance of premarital counseling, and also just giving us insight on, what Train the Trainer is all about and the great work that you're doing for the community. So, Jazakallah so much.
Shukran. Thank you so much for having me on air. Inshallah, this fills the intention for which it's been set out to do, is to impact and to make a difference within our community and for families in our community. But Jazakallah to you at INEX for always giving us a platform and for giving such efforts to community work. We really appreciate it. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah so much. It's definitely an honor. Viewers at home, this was a beautiful conversation that I just had with Zaheera Bham Ismail on the importance of premarital counseling, but importantly also just speaking or highlighting on the program called Train the Trainer. But without wasting any time, let's go to a quick ad break. We'll see you right after this.
Jazakallah. Thanks everyone.